Welcome everybody to the Novel Food panel. Novel food is a regulation that is specific to the European Union. Still across Europe, there are countries that are not part of the European Union, like the UK and Switzerland. Those countries carry a different regulatory framework, even though they are dealing with the same ingredient. I'm happy to introduce to you three knowledgeable speakers from Slovenia, Germany, and Switzerland who will give you great insight in their personal experience with novel food and some long-term prospects for Europe. So let's start with Dr. Marieta Cesen. Marieta works at PharmaHemp since 3 years. Her current position at PharmaHemp is Chief Regulatory Officer. She's an expert in the field of global legal requirements for cannabis-related consumer products, such as cosmetics, food supplements, and medicinal products. And she's the responsible person and author of PharmaHemp's application for the authorization of novel food that were successfully submitted to the EC and UK FSA. Then we have Mr. Kai Friedrich Niermann. Kai Friedrich is a specialized lawyer for hemp and cannabis. Kai is a member of the International Cannabis Bar Association and working with cannabis companies across the globe. Kai puts his energy into sustainably establishing a cannabis industry as one of the most significant industries of the future. And Kai is working with different clients that are in the process of the novel food application. And then we have Dr. Francis Garland, and he's the founder and managing director of Cloud9 in Switzerland, a life science company focused on the development and commercialization of pharmaceuticals and nutraceuticals based on medicinal plants, particularly cannabis. And he's vast experience in fast-moving consumer goods, tobacco, pharmaceuticals, flavors, and so on and so forth. So let's get started. Kai, can you give us maybe a quick overview on what novel food is and what the process of the applications are at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So last time I sat here at ICBC was April 2019, 3 months after the novel food catalog has changed, and we predicted at that time that strict law enforcement measures will take place, and guess what? They took place till now, but the whole story. So before January 2019, the novel food entry was that CBD is not a novel food unless it doesn't exceed the natural contents of the plant. So this was a very broad definition, not very precise, but the industry could live with that. So if you had a 2.5% CBD oil, it would have been marketable by that time. But then intense discussions between several European member states took place. Spain started that in August 2018 and removed all CBD products from the shelves. It went on with Austria in December 2018, saying that a general decree issuing to the governors of the municipalities, saying that they should enforce the novel food directive because all the CBD oils were deemed as novel food. And then we had the change in the catalog in January 2019, addressing now all extracts of cannabis, and it doesn't matter which kind of cannabinoid, it can be CBD, CBG, CBN, so all these extracts of cannabis are from then on novel food. And then we had in Germany the public announcement by the Federal Office of Consumer Protection, saying that there is no constellation possible where a product as food is marketable when containing CBD. And that was the end of the CBD industry we hoped to know, or we had known so far to that point. And then IHA, the European Industrial Hemp Association, decided in June 2019 to start a joint application procedure. IHA by now has over 300 members taking part in this consortium, in this novel food joint application consortium. And every company can take part in this consortium. So the aim was to collect 3.5 million euros for conducting several tox studies, which are necessary to get the approval by EFSA for these joint applications. And IR has achieved that, so we are 1/3 of the way right now. There are 4 applications for this novel food joint application. It's isolate, it's a raw product, it's a gold extraction, and it's a raw product. They are all decarboxylated, but not the raw one is not distillated. Information you can see on IHA webpage, the procedure started, so the tox studies are prepared, and I are starting now in the concrete phase of really doing the tox studies, starting with animal, later on in the later stage, also with human exposure. And yeah, that's the status. We have seen a couple of circumvention strategies in the market, from labeling as cosmetic, as aroma extract, as aroma product. But the next 2 years will be very difficult for the companies to stay on the market, to keep their products on the shelves. After that, the fully potential of the CBD market will unlock with the approval by EFSA for novel food. And until then, yeah, let's see how it works.
Okay, thank you. Francis, you're a Swiss company, but you're also looking at the UK market. Can you maybe give us a quick update on what is happening in the UK?
Actually, I was calling some friends of mine this morning to find out, and I was checking also the website of the FSA to find out if there was anything new. There hasn't been anything new since April 26th, when they published a document listing I think 4 different companies that have had their applications validated. And I make the difference between validated and authorized, because to date, no products have been authorized by the FSA in the UK. And we still seem to be quite far away from that. Of the products, I think there weren't that many, actually. Most of them were synthetic CBD. And from the echoes that I get from the UK market, it's looking that the authorities are very more favorable towards synthetic to any broad spectrum extracts or anything distillates like that. I also heard that in terms of process, and we were talking about it just before, normally the FSA, they said they were going to publish the list of companies that have had their applications validated. However, that list hasn't changed since April 26th. So it seems to be in delay in terms of the publications. The FSA are not keeping to the process that they wanted to engage with. And I think I can understand that maybe there are some legal implications as well in terms of when the authority is publishing a list of companies, that also has implications for business and commerce, right? So I can understand maybe the FSA are a little bit hesitant to continue down the road, and naturally they're probably in communication with the people in Brussels as well to try and maybe harmonize actions. So there's no real news from the UK side of things. Now, I'm a Swiss company. I make chocolate. I make Swiss chocolate with a broad spectrum extract in it, a CBD extract, that I can only sell in jurisdictions where novel foods authorization is not required. So we're doing that, and I'm waiting actually for my suppliers to get their authorizations, so then I can make my application for my chocolate to the authorities and get on the market. So I'm at the end of the value chain. So I'm the customer of people like Margrethe here, who are really at the coalface, tackling all the issues with the authorities.
Thank you. Mayeta, you have submitted applications to both authorities in the UK and the European Union. What is your experience with that, and are there many differences in how the applications are?
Hello, everybody. Yes, that is correct. We have applied at Pharmachem 2 different applications, novel food applications, to both authorities. It's been over half a year now since that. And what regards the approaches that both authorities are taking, basically the rules that apply, which do apply, are the same. They both follow EU regulation on novel food. They both follow EU guidances for the novel food. However, when it comes to the CBD products, there are slight differences that we have observed. One of them is definitely the approach that FSA, so Food Standards Agency in the UK, has taken. They basically left on the shelves the CBD products that are at the moment related to the novel food applications that were submitted before the end of March this year. This rule has slightly changed. As you probably know, the first announcement of the FSA was that the novel food applications have to be actually validated in order to have the products legally on the market. This has changed in the middle of March. I guess the authorities didn't cope with the amount of applications that they were receiving by that time. So they've changed it to just submit it. And as my colleague here says before, this is kind of related probably to the fact that it's just too many applications over there. And this is one of the main changes, I would say, that when we compare EC or EFSA to the UK Food Standards Agency. The next one is the public list that we also already discussed. This is something that EC hasn't considered yet and probably won't consider. But in the case of UK, authorities try to be more market-oriented, or how to say, and the list indeed hasn't changed till now. There are 5 companies there. It's about 50 products that have passed the validation. The public list contains also additional lists with the on-hold applications, but also that part hasn't been updated. Basically, it's empty since the announcement of that public list. So it looks like something is on hold by them, not by the applications themselves. Another one, which I found quite interesting, is the fact that the Rapid Alert System for Food and Feed, which is a RASFF system in Europe, if you check the notifications on that portal, you can see that unauthorized use of CBD products is relatively often on the list. So authorities in EU members are kind of dealing with the CBD products on the market. But I've been following also the FSA list or their announcements, and there hasn't been any recall or any unauthorized use published on their webpage. So this is another thing that we can say that's different in the case of UK. This might be again related to the fact that they are putting everything on hold, I think, because they are not really. I think they have a lot of other things to do as well because of the Brexit, and they are basically quite busy at the moment. So, yeah.
Thank you. So we see apparently there's a delay as well as in the UK, as well as in European Union. Kai, what are the biggest important factors that can delay the process when it comes to novel food? And do you know how many applications have been handed in total with the FSA and the European Commission, and what the current status is there?
I don't know the exact number. It's hard to find the exact number. It's about 50 probably. You ask about the delay. That's a good question. I'm just a lawyer, I'm not a scientist, but the tox studies will be the crucial part of this process. And it's the biggest tox study on THC commissioned by IHA, which there has ever been. So I assume that on the way on these tox studies, there will pop up problems which no one expected and which have to be solved then, and which maybe can delay the process. It's not only about CBD, this novel food joint application. It's also about THC, which is just as important, because we have these strict THC thresholds for food in the European Union, the so-called ARFD by EFSA, the acute reference doses. And these reference doses is so low that you hardly can put product on the market without having to fear to break these threshold and to have a callback by the authorities, etc. And the aim of IHA is to increase this threshold by 7 times, so that you have 7 microgram per kilogram body weight as a daily intake. And then you can work with these threshold. And what pops up in this process, in these toxicological studies, maybe Margita knows about that as well. We don't know that yet. We are all confident that they will be conducted successfully and on time. But you don't know what EFSA comes up with, and no, that's not sufficient. Please do some more. Add something on there. We have another problem. Do this, do that. We can't tell that right now, but we are confident that the process will be finished within 2023.
Thank you. So, Marita, what do you think are important factors that will help to get a successful approval? And maybe you can tell us a little bit what you've done for your novel food application and what steps you had to go through.
Yeah, so rule number 1, follow the EFSA's requirements. I think this is the most important one. With all the notes that they put in the guidances, they really want to know everything. For now, we've been in communication with both the FSA and EFSA, and they really, if they say, preferably 5 batches, you need to do the analysis on all 5 batches. It's as that simple. Another thing, regarding our status, we have both applications in the pre-validation step and the EFSA suitability check. For that one, which is now in the phase of EFSA suitability check, we are having a TC conference with EFSA authorities. They will give us some further clarification on their requirements that have been submitted to us in August. So I'm having this conference, which is part of EFSA supporting initiative. In September, we'll see how it goes, but usually they are quite, they do respond to our questions. They do try to answer also our questions, so it's a constant communication with them. The same goes with FSA. They do respond.
Thank you. So, Francis, let's say in the UK, novel food applications go through, like if any, but do you think if it will have any impact on the European market if there are products approved with novel food in the UK?
I don't have a crystal ball, but I would imagine absolutely yes, because they're the biggest trading partners between the UK and the EU anyways, so there's going to have to be some sort of a harmonization there between the 2 systems. Probably the FSA will come first before the EU, because the EU seem to be, on life support. There's nothing coming out of Brussels. You say you have good communication, that's great, but they don't seem to be making much progress, right, at the EU level. And last year, you remember, they put all the dossiers on hold, the 50 or so dossiers back in, when was it, March last year, because they had the preliminary review. Remember the legal review from the DG Santé, and they said that it was a narcotic. Remember that? And then we had to wait until November when it came out that from the European Court of Justice that, okay, it's not a narcotic. And then two or 3 days later, the European Commission came out with their statement saying, okay, all the dossiers are back in progress again. But since November, nothing, right? So if the UK get ahead in the race to actually develop this market in Europe, for sure there's going to be a consequence, going to be an impact.
Do you think we should be more pushing from the industry side, that we get some results and that there is more progress? Do you think we should push more?
At the European level?
Yeah, and at general market level.
I think that's being done by your colleagues in EIHA. They're doing that, and there's some other associations very active in Brussels, and companies also in private companies. The Canadians, they have offices set up in Brussels, and they're doing a lot of lobbying in the Brussels corridors. So I think that's happening. I don't know if anyone's listening. That's where I have most of my doubts, yeah. And then, I think the UK, their authorities, the FSA, I think they received something over 800 applications. A lot of them didn't even get past the RF number when they registered. You know, when you register online your application, you get an RF number and then you go to the next step. But a lot of the companies didn't get to the next step because they didn't have their applications done the right way, like you guys. So I can't really say any more than that.
Thank you. So let's jump a little bit to another topic, but that goes to the same authority. Let's talk about health claims and false advertisement. Kai, what is the problem with this from a legal perspective?
Yeah, this is the third obstacle of the CBD business. The first is novel food, the second is THC, and the third is health claims. I started to work in the industry 2017, and by that time I didn't know what CBD is at all. And everyone asked me, what is that? How is it legally? How can you see that? And then the work started, and we jumped in as lawyers and to gather and to collect the legal framework, what's going on. Then you saw the boom, the CBD boom. Numbers skyrocketing, the sales numbers. And why is that? Because this product is so popular. So many people having so many expectations for their life, for their well-being, for their homeostasis. I don't really I can't explain it to myself today, even today, that is so popular. By that expectations you have at this product, it's just one step to have a health claim. It's good for your homeostasis. It's also a borderline case, and if you start, it's good for cancer. It's good for even COVID-19 maybe. It's a clear health claim, and by that you need to have an authorization for that product according to the Medicines Act in the European Union. But then the marketing departments from the companies coming and asking, what can we say? We need to say something. Our CEO needs some bullet points. And then they set up on their web pages like CBD question and answer areas, and describing the history of CBD, the possible designation areas, and that's all wrong. That's all wrong. If you do that, I can tell you, if you get in the eye of the authorities and they find these question and answers, these tips, these areas on your web page, they will designate your product as a medicine, and you have a problem. So that's the big problem of the whole business. You have a wonderful product, people love it, but you can't tell why. And you set up a nice brand and nice graphics, and you have a nice shop in Berlin, or what is it, a flex store, and everything looked nice, and the people coming in, and you can't tell them what this is about. This is a problem, and will only be solved if there might be a health claim accepted, will be accepted by the EU Commission, and will be listed in the EU Health Claim Catalogue. Then might be one day this problem will solve, but it doesn't look like this right now.
Thank you. So, Marita, how are you dealing with functional and health claims, and what is your opinion on the issue of false claims?
So I think this issue is a bit more general. It's not related only to the CBD products. It's basically related to all consumer products that can be purchased nowadays. The kind of new miracles that cure cancer appear almost every day. And I think this is a common problem of false claims for the whole industry, not just the CBD industry. In the EU, like it was mentioned before, we do have an established system of nutritional claims, the claims that you know, like low-fat, low-sugar claims, which can be completely legally used for certain products under certain circumstances. And the same goes with the health claims. There's a EU register of authorized health claims, such as the claims that are used typically for vitamins, for minerals, which can be legally used so without breaching any law. When it comes to the CBD, it's true, there's no authorized claim for the moment available in the EU. But we at PharmaHemp have decided to go a step further and start with a project, another application for the authorization of the health claim that will be related or is related to the certain condition. I'm personally involved. I'm going to be the author of this health claim authorization dossier, and I must say that this is even more complex project and even more demanding task than the novel foods, to be honest. Partially, this is related also to the fact that the new transparency regulation came into force. This has happened this March, and I think that the whole process, because of that new regulation, is even more difficult and even more complex. But yeah, we will try to do it. I'm working on this project now for a few months. It is an interesting new thing. A lot of clinical data has to be reviewed, but we'll see how fast will I be. Hopefully, we'll submit the application by the end of this year.
And Francis, how are you dealing with health claims?
We don't make any health claims. Simple. We comply with the law. And I mean, when I started my journey also back in 2017, the same time, the first thing I did was I went and met with my local authorities in Switzerland. And I said, what do I need to do to comply with the law? So they said things like, well, it has to be a EU certified hemp, it has to be a traditional extraction process, can't contain any THC, because in Switzerland we actually have a regulation in the contaminants direct ordinance for contaminants in food products with specific levels, unlike the EU. I mean, we actually have a regulation in Switzerland for that, and basically it's zero with a lot of decimal points. Okay, and no health claims. That was the final thing they said to me. They said you cannot make a health claim because it's a food product, falls under food law. So that's it. Simple.
Thank you. So,
can I add one more thing, though?
Sure.
Because to follow on what Margarita was saying about the category of like vitamins, probiotics, because that's a nice category where if you do get a product approved, and we are actually in the process of doing that in Canada at the moment for our chocolate, not the CBD one, but using hemp seed oil. So we're using the nutritional properties of hemp seed oil as a superfood to also get it approved as a natural health product, because in Health Canada they have that category of NHPs. So then we can also sell our chocolate in pharmacies or parapharmacies or health food stores and make health claims.
That's very interesting. So maybe again to you, Francis, maybe you are brave enough to look in the glass bubble. So how long do you estimate will it take to get the first approval of cannabinoid-related novel food ingredients? And how long will it take to bring those products to the consumer? And which products do you think will be most likely authorized?
Again, I mean, we've been waiting my supplier's been waiting a year and a half years since they made their applications to the authority. They didn't wait till March to make they made them already a year before in the UK. Still waiting. Same with the European Commission, still waiting in Brussels. So I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. And I don't think anyone knows. Yeah.
Maida, do you think any products have a better chance of getting faster approval over others?
Yeah, this is what we've discussed before. Maybe the synthetic CBD is the most prominent one. However, also with what regards natural hemp-derived products, I think that the isolated forms of CBD might be a bit faster than the full spectrum or broad spectrum extracts. But again, this really depends on the application itself. If it's good quality application, it might be faster and not rejected at the end. So.
Thank you. So another question, Kai, what do you think, if there are approvals of novel food applications, how will this affect all the other companies who don't have approval?
Yeah, so we at IHA, we are assuming that by these tox studies, which are conducted now, we will get, or this application will get data protection, according to Article 27 of the Novel Food Directive. So no other company can refer to the results of these tox studies. Only the licensees of IHA Project GmbH, can refer to these results for a period of 5 years. All members now who joined the consortium have a clear market advantage in this time. This is for sure, and all the other companies which did it on their own as well. So probably you have to have a lot of data and a lot of stock studies, and this data protection will be granted. We assume that very strongly, and all other companies which are not licensed, which don't have any we are not affiliated or associated to any of the licenses or of these novel food authorizations, will have a problem. And not only IHA will kick them out or will send them the cease and desist letters for stopping distribution, the authorities as well. So it's still time to join IHA. Maybe I can tell it's 2,500 euros for the membership as a minimum fee, below 1 million euro revenue, and it increases the more revenue you make. It stops at over 20 million revenue per year. It will be actually 190,000 euros. You can pay that in three parts, it's 19,000 and 2,500 below one revenue. That's the starting point, and the fees will increase every half year. And IHA is still open for new members in this consortium. I can only strongly recommend to organize something like this.
Okay, thank you. So we're basically through with our questions, but this will leave us a little bit more time for taking questions from the audience, if there are any.
That's fantastic. Let's hear it for Lisa and the panel so far.
Thank you to all the panelists also.
So I've got a question. Actually, this is an issue that Kai brought up, and I think maybe Francis will be facing. Obviously, novel food is not just CBD, right? It's anything. It could be THC. What's going to happen in Switzerland as of next year? How is food going in with THC going to be dealt with, or et cetera? And if any way, do you think that path is going to be different?
I'll start to answer that because what Marguerite is referring to is since May the 15th in Switzerland, our Ministry of Health has opened to receiving applications for a new Swiss pilot program that has been approved by the government after a couple of years of going through the legislative process to modify our narcotics law, allowing for a study to take place. So it's a study, minimum 5 years, to evaluate and to collect data on whether we want to legalize recreational cannabis in the country. So, Switzerland loves to do referendums. We're always doing referendums every 3 months, practically. So probably in 5 years' time, there's going to be a big referendum. The nice thing is that in order to change just to modify the narcotics law, actually a lot of the stakeholders in Switzerland were favorable to it. They allowed it, the political parties and representatives of the medical community. So it's interesting because we realize that in Switzerland we have over 220,000 consumers of illegal cannabis in the country. So it's not a drop in the ocean anymore, for a population of 9 million. So there's a consensus, and this also falls in line with Switzerland's more progressive attitude for many years on drug laws. So the idea there, Marguerite, is that it'll be under the protocols of a study. So it's a scientific study. So that's how we are being allowed now to put products into the market. And the thing is, the participants of the products now will be recruited by the study organizers, 5,000 participants per study, in all the cantons. We have 26 cantons, so you can do the math and you can see what the potential market will be for this particular study. So under that framework of a scientific study, it's being approved, it's being allowed, okay? So from next year, we'll be able to put into, actually, I'm starting now, actually, because we have our application. I got nice news a few weeks ago that our application to do a chocolate containing THC is now into the database and made available to all the study organizers in the country. So we'll be able to do a nice Swiss chocolate with CBD and with THC for your pleasure and enjoyment. I got the CBD ones for you.
Any more questions? Be brave.
No one has questions?
Nobody has questions.
At all? Not even for like maybe the recipe for the Swiss chocolate with the CBD?
How much THC should I put in it? We're allowed up to 20%.
Up to 20%? Well, let's start. Let's start with that. I don't know. I've become a lightweight now, so like 5 milligrams per serving. So
10 little squares on our
that's
bar.
the
So
challenge
I could do 5 mgs per little square.
You
How
should
about that?
almost do like 1 mg per little square, because who's going to eat half of a bar? Yeah, exactly. You're going to eat the whole bar
But
and then
maybe
try to
some
look for
people
another
might
one,
get
and then you're going to
greedy,
smoke
you know?
some weed, and you're going to eat 3 more. So yeah, that's how it goes. No questions at all? Closing statements? Sure.
Well, I wish everybody success who has applied for novel food. So.
Well, all right. We'll just play bingo. Let's hear it for everybody then.
Thank you.